Welcome to Insidious Inc., where the darkest stories find you. Have you ever been home alone and felt that creeping sensation that something or someone is watching you? What if it wasn't just in your head? Or what if someone was already inside, waiting? This is a scary Home Alone story. I was 15 when it happened. My parents had gone out of town for the weekend, leaving me home alone for the first time. They'd hesitated at first, unsure if I could handle being by myself for 2 nights, but I wore them down with promises to keep the house clean and stay out of trouble. To me, it was supposed to be perfect. 2 days of pure freedom. No curfews, no lectures, no one asking if I'd done my homework. Just video games, junk food, and the kind of late nights I used to dream about. I even bragged about it at school, telling my friends I'd be the king of the house, ruler of my domain. That Friday night started out exactly how I imagined. I ordered the greasiest pizza I could find, turned the game console on full blast, and sprawled across the couch like a king on a throne. It felt surreal, like the world had hit pause and given me a private universe. But then, around 11 p.m, things started getting weird. It was subtle at first, little glitches in reality. The TV volume dropped on its own, not a lot, just enough for me to notice. I thought maybe I leaned on the remote, but when I checked, it was untouched on the armrest. Then there were the sounds. Faint thumps from upstairs, like someone shifting their weight on an old floorboard. I tried to ignore it, told myself it was just the house settling. It was old, after all, built decades ago with thin walls and creaky wood. But it didn't stop. The noises grew even more deliberate and more human. That's when I heard them. The footsteps. It was so slow but steady, pacing directly above me. At first I froze, trying to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe my imagination. Maybe a branch scraping the roof or some trick of sound echoing through the pipes. But then, just as I reached for my soda, I heard another footstep. It was louder this time, right above where I stood. My hand stopped mid-air. I looked up, staring at the ceiling like I could somehow see through it. My parents' bedroom was right above the living room, and they were hundreds of miles away. That's when the pit in my stomach formed. I set the drink down and grabbed the metal flashlight from the coffee table. It was the kind my dad always kept, just in case. It was thick, heavy like a miniature baseball bat. For the first time, I was grateful he never threw it out. The stairs creaked under my weight as I climbed, each step louder than the last in the quiet of the house. I held my flashlight like a weapon, tight in both hands, with my knuckles turning white. The hallway light above flickered once, then again. The shadows on the walls seemed to shift and twist like they had minds of their own. When I reached the top of the stairs, the air felt so cold, like the upstairs had been left open to winter. I crept forward, with each breath shallow and slow. Then, I saw it. The master bedroom door. It was cracked open. I hadn't opened it. I stared at it for a few seconds with my heart pounding in my throat. The silence was thick, so still that I could hear my own pulse in my ears. Then, inch by inch, I reached out with the flashlight and nudged the door wider. The hinges screamed, like they hadn't moved in years. I scanned the room. Nothing. It was empty. But then my eyes landed on the far wall. The window was wide open, the curtains fluttering gently from the wind, and just below it, on the floor, was the window screen, bent and popped out like someone had forced their way in. It wasn't torn or broken, just carefully removed. It was a deliberate and quiet action. Immediately I slammed the window shut and locked it with my shaking hands. My heart was hammering. I looked over my shoulder, expecting and hoping to see something that made sense. A raccoon, a branch, a gust of wind strong enough to pop a screen. But there was nothing. I backed out of the room slowly, the flashlight still clutched like a weapon, and tried to rationalize it. Maybe I just didn't notice earlier. Maybe my dad forgot to lock it before they left. Maybe, just maybe, it was nothing. But no matter how many times I told myself that, it didn't stick. I couldn't shake the feeling, that sense that something had been inside, that something had stood in that room, silent, still, just listening and watching. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I curled up on the couch downstairs with the TV turned low, lights on in every room, ears tuned to every creak and groan the house made. I stared toward the staircase every few seconds, convinced I'd see something at the top of the stairs, just standing there. But nothing came. The next day passed without incident. No weird noises, no open windows, no footsteps. The house felt normal again, and by evening, I almost convinced myself I'd overreacted. Almost. But on Saturday night, that's when I learned it wasn't my imagination. Not even close to my imagination. I was in bed around midnight, scrolling on my phone, when I heard it again. A creak. Then another. And then I started hearing distinct footsteps in the hallway, just outside my door. My heart pounded in my chest. I froze. With my eyes wide open, breath caught in my throat, my room was dark except for the faint glow of the phone screen. I turned it off, just to listen. All of a sudden, the footsteps stopped. Then, on my door, someone was standing right outside my door. My pulse thundered in my ears as I held my breath. I didn't move. Not a muscle. The doorknob jiggled once, twice, slowly with deliberate movements. Then it stopped, and there was total silence. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, whispering to the dispatcher that someone was in my house. She told me to stay on the line and stay calm. But then, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The door had started to open, not fast, just a slow, creeping inch, then another. I whispered louder, telling the dispatcher someone was in the room. She told me the officers were on their way. The door stopped moving. I raised the flashlight in trembling hands, ready to swing at whatever came through. But nothing did. The silence was unbearable. And then, my phone screen went black. It had been fully charged. And then the flashlight flickered and died, leaving me in total darkness. I backed against the far wall, so hard I thought I might pass out. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel it like something was in the room with me. I heard breathing that was not mine. It was slow, like someone struggling to hold their breath but failing. Then came the whispering. It was too faint to understand. Just the sound of words slipping between teeth. I don't know how long I sat there frozen. It could have been seconds or hours. Suddenly, red and blue lights flashed through the window. Then I heard the police say, "Police," and a loud bang on the front door. Then immediately the whispering stopped. The breathing vanished. The room felt empty again. The cops swept the house, found the back door open, the screen sliced clean through, like someone used a knife. But no one was there. They didn't find anyone. Nothing was stolen. The only thing they found was a handprint on the inside of my bedroom door, which was too high for me to reach, and even too wide to be mine. Since then, they never figured out who it was or what it was. After the incident, I've never stayed alone. But every now and then on quiet nights, I hear it again. That slow creak. That wet breathing. That whisper like it's still waiting. Just outside my door, watching. Now, not every home invasion leaves behind broken locks or stolen things. Some leave silence, a lingering breath behind your ear, a whisper in the dark. And some intruders aren't after anything you can replace. Thanks for watching Insidious Inc. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who sleeps a little too easily. Sleep tight, and don't forget to lock the doors. I mean all of them.